Welcome to Reformed and Real, where we take a journey with our people fresh out of prison and in recovery, and we try to see how the community around them really feels. My name is Mario Hernandez, one of the afflicted people that got out of incarceration, and we're here to try and figure out how this looks.
I'm Wayne Burt, curious onlooker who wants to get to know the stories beyond the stigma of incarceration, because, like Mario, I believe all stories count.
Yes, they do. Same answer every day, right? Every week?
Yeah, they continue to count.
We come in here, we say the same thing.
We have guests that reaffirm that they count.
They absolutely do. Today we got a special guest. Her name's Melanie Chroninger. Melanie, welcome.
Yes. Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe just a little brief history of why you're here.
Yes, I can give you the quick version, I guess. We got an opportunity to meet when I called you looking for resources. I am currently an intern at a treatment facility in Nampa. I am working on my master's in social work at NNU, and I could just see the need of people who are trying to change their lives that are just really up against systems that aren't for them. In my professional life, what I currently do is I am the Drug Overdose Prevention Program Coordinator for Southwest District Health. Our district serves Adams, Washington, Payette, Gem, Canyon, and Oahe counties.
Wow.
So I've been currently in that position almost 4 years, and I love it so much, but I definitely could see the need for clinicians in our rural communities. And so I'm making the switch from public health to social work.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's a big district to take care of.
That's
First
a
of all,
huge coverage area.
how busy are you?
Well, the goal would be to work myself out of a job.
God, you know what? That's my goal too. That's funny. It's funny you should say
Well,
that.
what do you know? That
Yeah.
makes three of us.
Yeah. So, Melanie, one of the other things that we've talked about, and we don't have to dig into weeds too far, but you also have a background in your past, like I do. You're in recovery, right?
That is correct.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and I like getting in the weeds, like going down the rabbit holes.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a data nerd. I'll share all day long on recovery and anything related to that. But yes, I have been sober since November 21st of 2005. And so,
Yay.
thanks, you guys.
What a great stretch.
I know. And so, yeah, this year I'll have 21 years sober. My sobriety will be able to drink. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I got sober. I hit a bottom sufficient enough to bring about recovery when I was 25 years old. And it was enough, and I've been sober ever since.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk about a lot is, when we're in this, I don't want to call it a business, but when there's world that we're in, right, where we're serving people that, you've been there, right?
Yes.
So you probably recognize a lot of people just the look in their eyes when they come in to see you and when you talk to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's just no light. There's no hope. Nothing's funny anymore. Everything's hard. All their piles of problems have piled up on them. And it's just, I understand what it's like. When I got into recovery, the first suggestion I ever took was from my lawyer, who said, get into treatment. Because unfortunately, and the joke, this is a joke, just so you know, and this is 20 years ago, just saying everything has been taken care of and completed, and I'm a useful member of society. But my dad always jokes that the crime rate went down in Orange County when I got sober because I was a one-woman crime syndicate, basically.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a joke.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, yeah.
And so, I got into treatment because I was justice involved. I was unhoused, living out of my car for 2 years. And it was really dark. It was a really dark time.
When did the period of addiction begin? How old were you?
I was 12 years old. Yes.
Wow.
And what's interesting is, with all my education and everything that I've been learning, I know a lot about substance use disorder and the disease of addiction, and the risk factors that put people at a higher risk of becoming, addicted to substances. And obviously there's a genetic component, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's trauma that kiddos experience, mental health, anxiety, depression, a way to cope. And so I didn't necessarily have any sort of genetic alcoholics in my family per se, but I did have a sufficient enough ACE score, which is an adverse childhood experience. And I turned to substances to change the way that I felt because I didn't like what was happening at home.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's that's a story of a lot, so many people. And people think, oh, you have to have had addiction in your family, but no, pain causes addiction as well.
Absolutely. And when I talk with people about stigma, you know, I hear, well, you made the choice to have that first drink. You made the choice to use substances. And the answer to that is yes, right? So how can we do more upstream prevention? How can we educate parents and kiddos, to not ever have to go down that road? However, because of my risk factors, right? My invisible line, and that's the problem, is it's invisible, right? So we
Mhm.
don't know where it is. I don't know which drink is going to set me over that line or which
Hmm.
substance or whatever. And so I was just more susceptible. And so while I did choose to take the first drink and the first drug, then the drink and the drug took me and I was gone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And some of that is fundamental to ultimately forgiving yourself. Is that right?
Oh yeah, that's a lot of work. There's step work for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like years and years.
Yes. Yeah. Well, with a good sponsor, someone to help you get down to the causes and conditions and clean up the wreckage of your past, then it hopefully shouldn't take years and years.
Hmm.
Some
But
people's wreckage is a little worse than others, right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
When you see people that come in, and when you talk to people, you always see there's a different level of hurt in people's faces, and it's like you can see it in their eyes, but it's really inside of their heart, right? Because, and especially when you're talking about young people,
Mhm.
it's just so prevalent now, and it's painful to watch it.
Yeah.
We do a lot of work with some foster programs here,
Mhm.
and some of those kids were just really locked down,
Yeah.
and you've seen it.
Mhm.
So, can I ask you a question? So, you've been sober a long time. Is it a lot to ask you if, like, what was the day, the moment that turned you around, that turned you clean, like that made you like, you know what, I'm done. How
um,
bad was it?
I can, yes, and I know exactly when that moment was. Uh, my parents had let me come home to do some laundry. I'd been running and gunning, for a long time. They were out of town, and I don't even know why they would trust me to come into the house, but they're like, "Come on, do some laundry." And I ended up having a $75,000 warrant that I didn't know about, and they broke down my parents' door, and they literally trampled our white picket fence as they came into the house and dragged me out. And I was like, "Don't let the cats out!" Like that's all I cared about, right?
My mom's gonna
My
kill
mom's
me.
gonna kill me. So as I'm like being dragged to jail one more
Yeah.
time. And God bless my parents. I never. The joke is like, thank God Al-Anon never got a hold of them because they just enabled me right to the very end,
Wow.
and they bailed me out one more time, and that's 10% of 75,000. That's money they'd never get back. But in that moment of desperation, I was sitting on my front porch, and I just said, God, if you're real, God, if you're real, help. And that was it. It wasn't, help me get out of this, help me, not get on paper, help me, not get out of these charges, whatever. It was just help. I'll do whatever you want. And in that moment, that's when I don't necessarily know if it was a white light moment, but it was in a space that I found peace and was like, okay, I'm willing to do something different. And, um, the way that my higher power reveals himself to me. I mean, it's different for everyone, but for me, it was huge. He opened every door for me to get the right lawyer in front of the right judge, in front of like everything, the right treatment center, the right advocates at the treatment center that was able to help me and set me up for success. So
Mm.
when
Awesome.
yeah, I can keep going.
Yeah, no,
This is
no, it's
That's
interesting.
great.
That's kind of what we're aiming for. We want to
yeah.
see where your pain was, because you are not the only one that has it like that, right? We're not the only ones. We're not alone.
Yeah.
There's people listening to this show that they're thinking, I did that. I remember that. That was me.
Yeah.
And some people are still in addiction.
Still
right?
in that moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still there. And they're getting to hear that anybody can get past it. You just have to, have to really want it, and you have to feel it in your heart. Like, today I want to be done.
Yes.
And
And
on the spot.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No.
There are moments of clarity, and I think that's really important, especially in the work that you do and we do, to be able to reach these people when they have that moment of clarity. But that's really what it is. It's just a moment.
Mhm.
And then what do they do moving forward? And so for me, I was able to have momentum, get into treatment, get taken to a 12-step program, say yes to all the things that I was asked to do. Because in my belief, it's not for people who want it or people who need it. It's for people who do it. It's very action oriented. I could pray all day long and say, take this from me. But I know for me, this is just all my opinion, but God can't steer a parked car.
No.
And so I need to do something, but I remember they had moved all 4 of my cases from 3 different courthouses into the main courthouse, right? The federal courthouse or whatever. And the judge, I was looking at 14 years in prison, and I never thought in my life, because I'm an only child. We literally had a white picket fence, or anyhow, yeah. So I was like, how did I get here? How did this happen? And the judge looked at me, and he sentenced me. He said, "Okay, I'm going to sentence you to 3 years in prison," and then that was the DA's recommendation. And then he stopped, and I could literally, this is the God moment for me. He said, "You know what? I see something different in you." And I was like, "What?" Okay.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. And he goes, "You know what? I'm going to give you one chance, and one chance only." He goes, "I'm going to give you I'm going to set aside that sentence, and I'm going to let you do all these other things. But just so you know, if I see you back in my courtroom, you're going to do 85% of those 14 years, because one of those felonies is a strike." And so he overturned the DA, and he gave me an alternative sentence. And it was extreme. It was extreme, but I was willing to jump through any hoop at that point. And so it was 12 months at a treatment facility. It was paying back $22,000 for restitution for harm's costs. It was, my DNA was on file. I had to take classes. I was on high control probation. And then it was 720 hours of community service.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
Yeah. That's a slog.
Yeah. But yes. And so I was like, okay.
Yeah. But that moment resonated with you, and you're like, wow, here it is. The big opening.
Yes. And I would say the only difference is because I was open and willing. I was surrendered to a higher power at that point. I didn't even know what it was. I did not have any sort of religious upbringing, nothing, not really. And so it was completely new. I didn't have a God personal to me or anything like that. But all of a sudden, all these things started happening. And I was like, okay. So I just started saying yes.
Yeah. You learned how to say yes. And the outcome was always, it was what you needed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Absolutely.
And the guides and the assistance was always there.
Mm-hmm.
Just one step after the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've been here, Wayne, with Melanie Chroninger, and we're going to take a quick, we're going to step out for just a second, and we'll be right back.
Yep. You're listening to Reformed and Real on Radio Boise.
All right. Welcome back to Reformed and Real. We're here with Melanie Chroninger and Wayne Burke.
Yes, indeed.
Hi.
Hi. So that was interesting. We got to get to know you a little bit. And, is there anything that was in your past and in your addiction that you want to add to that?
For anyone who has experienced the throes of addiction, I think all the feelings are the same. Yeah. The despair and our stories look different of how we get to recovery, but I think all those feelings of hopelessness and are the same. So nothing really to add on that end. No. But I was on the break. We were kind of joking around that I'm so grateful that I got to have that second chance, and I haven't wasted it. I've been sober since my first 12-step meeting, and my nickname in the rooms was 5 Felony Melanie. And so, yes, and that was just what I was convicted of. But the good news, and this is a story that is, for me, the hope piece, especially when I work with, previously incarcerated individuals, is at 5 or 6 years sober, every year since the judge gave me that second chance, at Christmas, I would send him a Christmas card and a detailed letter of all the things that I had done for the year and just thank him profusely. And I did that every year. And so at 5 years, without seeing him again in the courtroom, without him inviting me, he said, "I need you to come in here." And I was like, uh-oh. That's still to this day when someone's like, I need you to come in my office. I'm like, I'm getting fired.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's just but anyhow, so he invited me back to his courtroom and he's like, I need you to fill out all this expungement paperwork. And I'm going to push it through for you.
Wow.
No charge. And so he expunged my entire record, everything,
Wow.
which is great. And
That is a miracle.
yes. And
Is that a rare thing?
Very rare.
and so they don't have the same type of expungent here in Idaho. This is in a different
Oh,
location. So it's a little bit different, but I am confident that there is nothing if my higher power wants to to get me somewhere to have me do something, there's nothing that's going to keep me from it. And I just need to put one foot in front of the other
Mm-hmm.
and keep saying yes. And
Keep saying yes.
yeah.
yeah.
Criminal background means nothing when your higher power is in charge, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I remember my first job, I was like 14 months sober and I was so nervous because we just wrapped up all the court stuff. And I got this job interview and they're like, yeah, we want to hire you. We just need to do a background check. And I was like, oh no. And so I called them and I was like, hey, just so you know, there's probably gonna be some stuff on there, but I just want you to know I'm on the straight and narrow, good path. And the owner of the company ended up calling me into like, hey, will you come meet me in my office? And I was like, oh, great. He's gonna turn me down. And he's like, hey, don't worry. I used to do cocaine. You're hired. And I was like, what? He's like, we all have a past. We all have. He's like, I'm going to give you a chance. And that has literally been the story of my life.
Wow.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
doors opening.
Doors opening.
Yeah. From saying yes to God. That's it.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's
Funny
key.
how that works, isn't it?
It's wild.
Yeah.
So when you go through the recovery process, you put one foot in front of the other, get a job, start to develop a track record of making good decisions and not the decisions that led you to addiction. At what point do you start to go into helping other people? When does that happen? Your line of work is giving back. I mean, that's what you're focused on now. So talk about the track of that. Talk about how that happened.
Yes. I don't think there is ever a time frame for someone to start giving back. I think like if you are sober 2 days, you can help the person with 1 day, right? Like
Yeah.
it's never too soon to start being of service. And that's just what I was taught in the way that I was grown up in the 12-step program and, clean house, help others, that kind of stuff. And so the joke or I don't know, whatever, the idea is like the first year is for free or the first year is for you. And then once you're in your second year of sobriety, that's when you really need to be more others centered and really focus on helping others.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because you got to keep it or you got to give it away to keep it.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's one of the big things, right? We
Yes.
keep what we have by giving it away.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's how you kind of dissolve this idea of self,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
selfishness. Yeah.
So do you find yourself in your job now, do you find yourself thinking about or talking to them about your past or are you just a totally different person? Because I kind of go through both of those, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to just spill the beans to everybody. And sometimes I just want to just talk normal and when I say normal, it's like normal to society, right? And not talk about my past, but do you find that?
Yes and no. I mean, if it, like, I will tell anyone who wants to hear it if it's going to help them. I am not embarrassed about my past. My past is my greatest asset. It allows me to help others. No matter how far down the scale they've gone, like I can be of useful and helpful. Professionally, though, yeah, I tell everyone. Yeah.
Me too. That's
Yeah.
everybody that walks through the door. I'm like, yep, I'm a felon.
Yeah. But see, the good news about that though is because you have recovery under your belt and you've recovered, you are a changed person. So one thing I do want to highlight that I get to do in my job is I co-lead a public health and safety team, FAST for short. And what it is, it's a collaboration of like cross sectors, like all these different community partners that come together to help identify like gaps and barriers that keep people overdosing, both fatally and non-fatally. And so I have my co-lead is actually a lieutenant at the Nampa Police Department, but we have probation and parole, we have the coroner's office, we have every law enforcement in Canyon County, we have paramedics, we have the hospital system, and then we have people from treatment, we have lived experience, we have harm reductionists, we have all these really neat people at the table, and what I love is being able to be that bridge. Because especially when I work with law enforcement, when people are in their addiction, they, law enforcement, first responders see them on their worst day
Yeah.
all the time, over and over again. The same house coming back, whatever, and being able to bridge that to say, hey, look, no, we do recover, and we get to recover out loud, and to be that example to them. Like,
Yeah.
people have the ability to change their lives, and so being in this task force, I guess you would call it, we are looking for ways to plug those gaps and to help people not die.
Right.
So
Yeah.
do you find yourself defending people that are, like when you're working with Tampa PD, defending people that are going through addiction?
I don't actually. I have some fantastic partners at the table that already have a heart
So
and a passion.
they're on it with you.
Yes. And so, yes, and they're always looking to learn, learn more, educate themselves, understand. And sometimes they do. Their job is to enforce the law, However, they want to be of service. They want to protect the community by providing community resources to people who are
Yeah.
struggling. And I just think it's really cool. But to be able to have a safe space where, we can talk about things, especially from harm reductionists, or technically in the state of Idaho, it's overdose prevention strategies. We don't say harm reduction anymore. But the idea is, like, how do we keep people safe
Hmm.
so that they don't die?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a new element in law enforcement in your experience?
Which part?
Some of the education part,
Where they
to-
want to learn instead of,
yeah, to
where they're changing, right? Their
Right.
perspective.
Yeah. I mean, you can encounter a lot of people with empathy in law enforcement. I have no doubt about that.
Mhm.
But as far as the education to deal with people on their worst day, addiction wise.
I think there are some areas, cities that are just at the forefront and doing it really well, and they're leading the charge, and they're change agents, and they're enthusiastic, and um, enthusiasm is contagious. And so we have some really cool, and I'm just going to call them out, the Nampa Police Department. They are wonderful, and they are really setting such a great example of what that looks like, of how to continually helping the community to be different and to change and to have resources and to have that education. It's really cool.
That's great.
In my experience, Wayne, and I think that compassion and empathy in the police force, whether it's county sheriff, state, has always been there.
Mhm.
I've met some cool police officers in my
Absolutely.
day, and even in Orange County
Mhm.
when I lived there, and when I was a juvenile, especially,
Mhm.
police officers that would pull us over with a case of beer, and everybody's straight drunk as all heck
Mhm.
driving down the cruise, right? And I remember they'd say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to follow you guys home, and I'm telling your mom." You know, so there's always been that. I think that somewhere along the line, addiction changed, and some people just didn't know how to deal with it.
Mhm.
Some police officers just got cold to it,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, you're going to jail." I'm
Mhm.
not going to see this. And then
Yeah.
some of them were still like, "Hey, you know what? This is just still a little Mario right here."
It could also be a matter of quantity, right? Like an epidemic
Burned
of
out.
addiction.
Mhm.
Yeah, burned out. And then maybe resources for law enforcement officers, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Access to social workers and things like that. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an actual term. It's called compassion fatigue.
Mm.
And that's what happens when day in, day out, that's what you're dealing with. It's hard to dig deep and find that compassion, but that's part of the self-care and taking care of themselves too. And so, helping them stay well
Mhm.
as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
that's really important.
How do people who help law enforcement stay well themselves? What's your self-care?
I think I'm a little unique just because of the recovery background. My days start with prayer and meditation, and then reading some specific pages out of a book, and then a big book,
Yep.
that kind of get me straight. Because if I get to my head before God does in the morning, I'm in trouble,
Mhm.
So I know how to do mindfulness and pause and self-care and soul care. Like, all of that is really important, especially for the high level of things that I get to do that God has blessed me with. But I can see it, like, as being a social work student, meeting social workers, they just have a tendency, and that's part of the job, is just wanting to help, and they just pour themselves out and pour themselves out, but you can't give from an empty well. You can't pour from an empty well or give from an empty
Hmm.
cup. And they're giving more than they're replenishing, and,
Sure.
and so that's where we see a lot of burnout,
Yeah.
and I don't want that, so I would like to.
What do you
Yeah.
recommend for managers of nonprofits?
I don't know, me?
And me.
Yeah.
I think dedicating time, being intentional about time that you take doing things that replenish your soul, whatever that is. For my husband, it's jujitsu. For me, it's, obviously like the soul care and stuff like that. But I love getting my hands in the dirt and gardening and chasing around my chickens and taking my dogs to the dog park and hiking and fishing and camping, all those different things that really refill me.
Hmm.
Being around people who are headed the same direction as me, having those deep, meaningful connections, because the opposite of, addiction is connection. And so making sure that I'm connected to people who are, encouraging and, all those things.
Yeah.
Well, that's some good advice.
What do you
Wayne,
think?
Wayne, you better take it. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, you're one to talk, pal.
I know I'm 7 days a week, and Wayne is too. So,
Right.
some very good advice. So, we're one more question that I have for you. So, if you had any advice for somebody sitting out there right now listening to this show, whether it's a family member or somebody that's currently incarcerated because they hear us too, or just a plain old community member, what do you have to say about this subject?
I mean, bottom line, recovery is possible. There is hope. Don't give up. you know, there are great resources in the community, different types of groups, whatever that is. It's really hard to go it alone. And I know that when I got here, I had burned a lot of bridges. So I just threw myself into a new group of people and was like, okay, I just believe that you guys believe, and I'm just going to do what you do. And that really helped. And for family members, my parents prayed for me. They actually ended up finding God. They moved, went to a church, found God, and for 7 years they prayed for me over my soul. Like every time they'd get a phone call, they'd think I was in jail or dead. Right, most of the time it's jail. But just knowing that, just keep hope, keep praying. Gosh, the other thing too is when I meet people who are, have felonies or have made, poor choices or have a lot of wreckage, all that kind of stuff, I just say, you know what, that like the world is your oyster. Like, believe it or not, I know you don't feel that right now, but really there's nothing that you can't do. I have, and I kind of share the story and I'll be really quick, but when I was a couple of years sober, my sponsor gave me this little rock that said yes on it, like a little pocket rock. And I was like, oh, does this give me permission to do whatever I want? She's like, no, no. She's like, what I want you to do is keep saying yes to God. And so I did. Anytime someone asked me to be of service, anytime that, a commitment came up, anytime that a person needed help, I just kept saying yes. And my world started getting bigger and bigger. And, I would give God a little bit and he'd give me a lot. And then all of a sudden I had this huge world and nothing held me back. None of my felonies, none of my, any of my kerfuffles or anything, the weird stuff that I got into, right? Like it just ended up being my best asset, my greatest asset.
Mhm.
And there's nothing that can keep me for something that God wants for me. The only thing that could ever get in the way is myself, right? So I just got to get out of my own way and
Yeah.
let, my higher power do his thing.
Well, the great story of redemption is available for everybody that wants it anytime they want, right? So there it is.
Yeah.
Melanie, thank you very much for being here with us today. And, it's been a great show. And I really love hearing the stories like this. And I know Wayne enjoys it as well. We've had
Yeah.
some good times.
I always walk out with a spring in my step.
Love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you both so much. This is great.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining Reformed and Real. I'm Mario Hernandez.
And I'm Wayne Burke.
And we'll catch you guys next time.